After seeing Princess Leia's plea to Obi-Wan Kenobi, the music falls away again. Like before, this lack of music allows the dialogue to stand on its own for a time as we learn a little bit more important backstory that will play a larger role later on. It also serves in a couple of other ways though as well. See, we just had this beautiful music number for Princess Leia that was fairly impactful. So, by Williams not immediately introducing music again, it allows that impact to live on, but it is also more than appropriate during this dinner table scene to not have music since it is a far drier tone. I say all of this because while it's appropriate that there's no music, it also could have served as another great opportunity for Williams to introduce a theme for Kenobi as Luke and Uncle Owen begin the dinner table conversation by speaking briefly about Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. I thought he might have meant old Ben. Do you know what he's talking about?
Now, notably, Kenobi wasn't given a theme by Williams until the 2023 Kenobi series, as what we now know as the Force theme was originally intended for his theme. But I have to wonder what would have been different in the choice for where to score music if Kenobi had actually had a theme from the beginning, and this will actually come up later on in this video as well. But eventually, Luke becomes upset that Uncle Owen is not letting him leave. As he storms off, the flute lightly takes up his theme, beginning with the ascending perfect
Owen, he
fifth.
can't stay here forever. Most of his friends have gone. It means so much to him.
I'll make it up to him next year.
Interestingly, this short cue was not part of the original soundtrack, which I'll talk more about in a moment, because this entire section of the movie had different music. Ultimately, this short entrance of his motif is designed as a way for Williams to transition into the binary sunset music that we'll hear next, and was added as a way for Williams to blend back into music with something that would now be familiar to us before fully introducing the Force theme in a moment. The clarinet takes over Luke's theme from the flute next. As it does, it repeats the descending flute line while also transposing down a perfect fifth, which allows Williams to modulate to the subdominant. This dropping modulation, coupled with the orchestration shift to the clarinet, darkens the music just as Aunt Beru says that Luke has his father in him.
I promise.
Luke's just not a farmer, Owen. He has too much of his father in him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
But the music gets even darker as Williams very cleverly foreshadows Luke's connection to the darkness of his father no matter what the story ends up being later on. And I realize that at this point Lucas hadn't actually decided that Vader would be Luke's father yet, but we still get the sense that something is not right about the past with Luke's father.
Luke's just not a farmer, Owen. He has too much of his father in him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
As Luke's theme completes, it lands on the typical second scale degree, holding tension. Normally, this would be accompanied by a major dominant chord, but here, Williams actually drops the bass down to a D flat, giving us an out-of-place minor chord built off of the fifth scale degree.
Luke's just not a farmer, Owen. He has too much of his father in him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
This does two things. First, it continues the trend of dark music as we hear a minor triad underneath the dark foreshadowing of Uncle Owen. But secondly, it destabilizes the harmonic structure and our perception. And so, as Luke walks off into the ever-darkening sky of Tatooine, which, let's be honest, is way darker somehow than it was just moments earlier while they were talking, the music continues to darken as well as we shift to G minor.
Father in him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
This chord, aside from the A natural and the harp, is still part of the key of E flat major, but G minor is also the relative minor to the key of B flat major, which was the key that Luke's theme was originally heard in just a few moments
Make it up
ago.
to him next year.
Owen, he can't stay here forever. Most of his friends have gone. It means so much to him.
I'll make it up to him next year.
And by the way, if all of these key relationships are confusing you, I highly encourage you to check out my Max Rebo Music Theory course playlist, where I'm slowly progressing through music theory with a fun Star Wars twist. But Williams now settles himself in G minor. The flute and bassoon move from the tonic to the dominant. The measure repeats twice before giving way to that same heroic French horn that introduced Luke's theme earlier. In this particular instance, the honor of this solo was given to David Cripps, who was principal horn player for the London Symphony at the time. And this becomes the moment that we are fully acquainted to the Force theme, a theme that we won't truly and fully understand the purpose of until much later. And if you remember, we actually heard it briefly back on the Tantive 4, as well as Leia recorded her message for Obi-Wan.
R2-D2, where are you?
But here, it's the feature of the scene as the music takes over, and I'll talk more about why this theme was used here in a bit. As the horn enters, the flute, bassoon, and harp dissipate, leaving just the tremolo strings underneath to fully allow us to hear the nobility of the horn. The first phrase reaches upward before returning downward. The second phrase reaches higher yet with the fluidity of the triplet figure introduced. As it does, the harp returns with an ascending C major chord, the subdominant, as we get our first chord change in this melody, now moving away from the tonic triad. This increases the energy then as Williams lets the strings take the melody from there, giving us the moment we all feel goosebumps for the first time in this film. The high violins go even higher in the melody to its climactic tonic as the harmony shifts to a major E-flat sub-median underneath. Williams highlights this moment further by bringing the low brass in for just this one chord to add more weight along with the harp glissandi, completing this magic orchestrational moment. The horns continue to follow the melody and chords downward with different variants and inversions of the tonic chord. A final dominant chord leads us down to a final tonic note, the release, now complete. The music continues a little further though as Luke returns to his room. As he does, the woodwinds play us a quick version of the Rebel fanfare, which we heard at the very opening of the movie, reminding us of these droids and where they came from. And as Luke buzzes for the droids, the low strings enter with a quick startle to accompany C-3PO. The music settles quickly again then into string swells as he explains that R2 left.
What are you doing hiding back?
And as Luke runs back outside again, now with proper daylight transition occurring, his theme enters again in the clarinet, this time being completed all by the single instrument. Williams then returns the Force theme yet again, this time softer and with the accompaniment of celeste and wind chimes to give even more mysticism to the scene. The horn returns again to the orchestra as the melody swells again, creating a complete circle to the music. Williams ends the music not with a stable, clean harmony. Instead, he finishes by adding to the tonic chord several other tendency tones as well that add to the dissonance and unsettled tension that the scene requires and ends on as well, leaving us unfulfilled and waiting to see what happens next. The music for the Binary Sunsets has become one of the most iconic moments in Star Wars for many fans, but it wasn't even the original score that Williams actually wrote for this scene. Williams had written a completely different track for this scene, and it was only after Lucas saw the first draft that he asked Williams to change it. In the original score, Williams went for a much darker tone as Luke walks outside, and instead of a clear theme, the strings gradually rise as if reflecting Luke's struggle to leave, and while there is a recurring ostinato motif, I don't recognize it from anywhere else in the score, which makes this a very isolated musical moment in that sense, and therefore one that was easy to replace. And we can hear a lot of the same orchestration as the strings, harp, and woodwinds repeat for 2 measures, but here the strings immediately take on the main line instead of the horn. But Lucas wanted something different, and when you hear Williams talk about this scene, it becomes very interesting. Remember that the Force theme was actually originally Obi-Wan or Ben Kenobi's theme for Williams, and there was no theme for the Force. So it never would have occurred to Williams to put Kenobi's theme in this scene where we haven't even seen him yet. In a 1977 interview with Charles Lippincott, who was the vice president of advertising and publicity, Williams noted that George asked for Ben's theme there once he had heard it. I had originally scored that scene with Luke's theme, but then when we heard the other, he said, "Could you put Ben's theme in there?" He liked it for some reason or other better for that scene. It is difficult to explain why. It is contemplative and reflective, and it works really very well. I think I have to say, in the end, he was right. Now, I can't actually hear Luke's theme in this original alternative, So I'm a bit confused by Williams' comment in that sense, and perhaps there were other alternate tracks as well for this scene, but we can hear what may have spurred Lucas to also want Kenobi's theme at that moment. As Luke walks out, we can hear a similar ascending minor scale that sounds a lot to our ears like it's the beginning of the Force theme. And when you look at Williams' original transcripts, you can tell that this was added later in a comical insight into the composer's work, as even the paper he used for this was different. So that's how we came to have one of the most iconic scenes in all of Star Wars with such an iconic musical moment attached to it. But I'm also curious what all of you think. Do you remember the first time you watched this scene and what kind of impact it had on you? Were you aware of the alternate version or the story behind Lucas wanting Ben's theme in that moment? Tell me in the comments below what you think, and consider checking out my Patreon page using the link in the description, where you can help support this channel for as little as $1 a month or download PDFs and MP3s of projects, including my transcriptions of the original John Williams score for these films as I complete them, along with other perks at higher tiers. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to learn more about the music of a galaxy far, far away, and as always, may the be with you.